Welcome to part 2 of Storm Raven Down, where we'll do the external part of the Raven, painting it up and everything. If you missed part 1 is where we built it together and painted the interior and everything, so if you haven't seen it yet, you can check it out. Link is at the bottom of the description below, so let's get to it. We'll start out with the interior of the cockpit and the turret. We'll go ahead and base color the same color that we used for the interior of the whole model. And that was the 2-part mix of the model color buff and the 1-part mix of the model air light gray. And for the pilot, we will paint him Vallejo model air metallic steel. Using Vallejo model air black, we'll go ahead and paint various parts of the panels black, as well as some of the screens black. And for most of the servitor's body, we'll paint it black. It's going to look very Borgish. The skin of the servitor is painted Vallejo model air barley gray. It gives it that pasty gray look. And for all the metallic parts of the servitor, we'll paint it Vallejo model air gunmetal. For the turret, we're going to go ahead and bring out some of the details, so we'll go ahead and give it a wash. I'm using Vallejo's black wash for this. Now, of course, once dry, just use a Q-tip or a sponge or makeup sponge or whatever it is that you use, and just clean it up a bit. And we'll go ahead and do the same thing, wash the interior of the cockpit as well. Let's not also forget to wash the pilot. Okay, now we're going to use red, blues, yellows, anything that's bright that would look good on a control panel. And this is what we're doing. We're detailing the control panel to make it look like it's lighting up and stuff. Now don't paint all the buttons, just pick out some randomly here and there. And we'll paint the eyes of the pilot red, and there you go. Okay, we're going to go ahead and mask the canopy now. The reason why we're going to mask it is because we want to paint the frames along painting the whole hole. But not paint over the windows itself. We want to keep that part clear, right? So what we're going to use here is Parafilm M. Now this stuff you can get on Amazon, this big box, about $25, and it'll last you forever. You really need only a small piece to mask a full canopy. This stuff is used in the medical industry, in the laboratories and stuff to seal up test tubes and stuff. There will be more links on the description below about Parafilm to 2 videos that I have on my scale modeling channel. One is me masking a canopy of Corsair. The other is basic tools, which I talk a lot about Parafilm and kind of how to use it. The example here is a little off because I used a piece that's a little big, but I kind of like using the bigger pieces. When you stretch it, it gets really big, right? You only really need 1 or 2 layers to mask the canopy. But this works really well. As I mentioned in the other videos, when you're gonna cut it, you're gonna have to use a brand new blade, because if it's dull, it will snag on the blade itself and rip the Parafilm. But if you watch closely here, you'll see how I'm using the Parafilm. It's so flexible, so conforming that you could actually use a toothpick to push into the areas that's not covered yet, and it'll still be covered. And the canopy for the turret and the cockpit has been masked. Now we're ready to glue it on and paint. Last thing we do before we get to painting is to snip off the tabs here off the turret so that we can easily put the turret back onto the model or pull it out whenever we want. And now we'll go ahead and glue in the canopy for the cockpit and the turret. Using a Badger Chrome airbrush, we're going to go ahead and shoot Vallejo Acrylic Urethane White Primer through the airbrush at about 20 PSIs to primer up the model. Now let's go ahead and do pre-shading. I switch over to the Badger Soltar 2020. Now the Krome can shoot out as thin as lines as the Soltar 2020, but the Soltar 2020 was made to shoot out really detailed, thinner lines, so I got more control out of it, so that's why I switched over to the Soltar. Now I'll be shooting Vallejo Model Air Black out of it at 15 PSIs to make the lines. Okay, time for the base coat. I switched back over to the Badger Chrome airbrush. What we did is did a mix of Vallejo Model Air metallic steel with Vallejo thinner, a 1-to-2 mix, and we shot it out of the airbrush at 20 PSIs. Now, trying to keep the pre-shading intact, we're going to put on really light layers. There is a little problem. The Vallejo metallic steel, it covers really well, even at a 1-to-2 mix of it thinned. So it was a little hard to see the pre-shaded lines, but it still worked. If you want to know more about post-shading and pre-shading, check out the video that I made for it, and we talk about how to do it and stuff and what the purpose of it is. You can check it out at the link in the description below. So we're going to have some actual post-shading to do for this model here. We're going to take Vallejo Model Air gunmetal and we're going to go ahead and just darken the areas that should be darkened, you know, the shadowy areas, or the crevices, the corners. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a sloppy job out of it, right? We're not just going to just cover those areas with the lines, but we're going to go out of the lines a little, just little splotchy areas here and there. Main reason is this is kind of a vehicle that is chrome, kind of like a DeLorean, right? So other than, you know, make it really rusty, the other way to weather it is to make it look weathered is to, you know, give it a little dark and splotchy areas. It's kind of hard to explain. Hopefully you can see it in this video here. And let's not forget to do the turret. And this is where we're at so far, post-shaded. Now to slap on the details. I want to give it some racing stripes. I have this crazy idea of using the Free Flex red transparent paint to do it. This should give it a red metallic sheen rather than just being red paint. So I masked up one wing and tested it out. I really liked how it came out, so I did the other wing as well as the tails. Now I masked the whole thing out because I don't want to mess up the base coat paint job that's already on it. Now we got a big old ball of masking tape. Now I'm using Tamiya masking tape. And that's a question I get a lot. What kind of masking tape do I use? It's Tamiya masking tape. It works really well. It doesn't pull off, you know, the paint off of your paint job. And now the tedious job of pulling all the masking tape off. Now it didn't take long for the transparent paint to dry. It only took a couple of minutes. So I was just, you know, putting it on and then just taking the tape right back off again. And we'll slap some red on the weapon plating on the turret. And there you have it, the Storm Raven with its racing stripes on. That's what I call it. And really quickly, I used Vallejo Model Air Gold for the Imperial Eagles. For the Liberian, I think that's what they are, the book icons, I used red for the corner braces, gold on the handle, steel on the blade. The book, the pages within itself is buff. And the ribbon's red, of course, and gold on the ribbon tip. And basically used brass for the skull. For the Stormbolters, I painted it Vallejo Model Air black, and then I dry brushed it with Vallejo Model metallic gun. For the landing gears and the turbines, I used Vallejo Model Air gun metal. For the turbines, I used Vallejo Model Air gunmetal, and then I used, on the turbine tip there at the end, I used the Vallejo Model Air rust, mixed in with about 1 part Vallejo Model Air black. And for the turret assault cannons, I used, I believe, Vallejo Model Air gun. Okay, we'll go ahead and give it a gloss coat. What we're going to do next is we're going to do some panel line washes and stuff. So the gloss coat is going to help protect the work that we've already done, as well as clean up any mistakes. Okay, now we're going to make the model stand out by giving it some panel line washes and some detail pin washes. And we're going to be using the Vallejo's acrylic black wash for this. If you want to know more about pin washes and panel line washes, check out my video that I've done on it. The link is bottom at the description below. Now to clean up the Vallejo acrylic wash, I'm using alcohol at the base and using Q-tips just to wipe them off. It comes off pretty easy. Here's some more detailed work that I haven't shown yet. Here are the headlights and the multi-melt front guns. Now we'll give it a matte coat just to protect the work that we've done so far underneath again. And the next step, I'm going to be using some techniques that's going to work better with a matte coat. We're going to spray some Vallejo matte varnish onto the model now. Now, I'm assuming these Mind Strike missiles, when shot out of the Storm Raven, is like a Patriot missile, has fire in the back to propel it to its target. So naturally, it's going to leave streaks on the wing here. So that's what we are trying to duplicate. And I've done it on this wing here. We'll go ahead and do it on the other wing so you can see how I've done it. Now, by the way, these Mind Strike missiles are painted model color red. This is really easy. We'll put them down, the PSIs down to about 10, and we're going to go ahead and mix a really diluted model air black. I'm talking about maybe a 1 to 10 ratio here. And what we're going to do is just going to keep passing it over until we get a streak going. First it's going to be very light, but as you keep doing it, it's going to get darker and darker. It gives that really nice effect of weathered streaking down the wing when you're shooting out the missiles various times. Now we'll go ahead and weather up the landing gears here. It's just really easy. What I'm doing is just dry brushing using Vallejo Model Air metallic gun. And we'll do the same thing for the side turbines as well as the larger turbines. And that's it. We'll put on the final protective coat, and it will be again the Vallejo matte varnish, and we could just call it good. Now normally I'd weather a lot more, but then this is, you know, a flying machine, so I don't see much dirt buildup happening on a flying machine. Maybe when it lands and stuff, but really, for time constraints and because it's a plane, I didn't weather it more than I usually do. And now it's time for the unmasking. We'll take a toothpick here and we'll go ahead and just scrape off the parafilm that we used to mask the canopy. And this is the great thing about Parafilm, is that it doesn't leave any sticky residue, and it just works flawlessly. And that's it. Apologies for this clip here. It didn't film very well, and this is the only clip I have of the, you know, the whole thing. I didn't notice it was messed up until I got into the post. Now some of you guys might be wondering, well, what did I do with the base? I just did something really quick because I was under, you know, time constraints, and filmed it fairly quick for you guys here. And that's it. If you have any comments or suggestions, just leave them down below. I love reading them. And remember, like if you like, sub if you haven't, and favorite if you love me. I'll talk to you guys later.